Good evening, you're watching Estuary News. I'm Hugh Riches. In the headlines tonight, a man from Mablethorpe is sentenced to life in prison for murder, the opening of the International Bomber Command Centre in Lincoln, and helping women in Hull build confidence through cooking and sewing. And later in tonight's programme, our very own Luke with the latest from the local art scene. Before that, I'll be catching up with Irish singer Daniel O'Donnell ahead of his UK tour, which visits our region. A man from Mablethorpe has been sentenced to life in prison on being convicted of murder. During a 2-week trial at Lincoln Crown Court, jurors heard how 46-year-old James Patrick Adam launched an unprovoked attack on James Rudd by fatally stabbing him. Paramedics were called to the stabbing in Victoria Road in Mablethorpe and tried to save Mr. Rudd as he lay bleeding in the street. A post-mortem found a stab wound punctured his heart. Adam denied murder but was convicted at trial by a jury. He'll serve a minimum of 23 years in prison. And a Hull dentist has admitted asking his friend to obtain the date rape drug GHB to use on his wife to see if she was being unfaithful. 48-year-old Majid Mustafa encouraged Robert Lipinski to obtain a noxious substance between the end of March and the middle of April last year so it could be administered to his wife, Renata Anchak, with the intention to injure, aggrieve or annoy. Mustafa has been given a conditional discharge of 12 months. Ms Anchak has been missing from Hull since April 2017. An event to tackle obesity in North Lincolnshire was held in Scunthorpe today. North Lincolnshire's Health and Wellbeing Board highlighted ways to get more people living healthy lifestyles. The event also looked at the Food in North Lincolnshire Pledge, which was established last year to tackle obesity in the county. In North Lincolnshire, nearly 70% of adults are overweight or obese, and around 24% of children aged 4 to 5 are unhealthily heavy. The pledge is part of a wider system to improve the food in the county, examining food for people, the community, the economy and the place. Julie Reid, the Cabinet Member for Adults and Health at North Lincolnshire Council, says it plays an important role in improving people's health and well-being.
Well, it's massively important because what we do and the people that we are, the services that we need, are all connected to our lifestyles, and they're connected to our health, what we put in our body. They're also connected to our mental well-being and our healthy emotional well-being, which again has a massive impact sometimes on food and what we put in our bodies and how we look after ourselves. So having lots of gyms and leisure centres and open spaces and opportunities for people to exercise and to eat well is essential for our residents and our citizens.
The International Bomber Command Centre officially opened in Lincoln today. The centre recognises and remembers those who sacrificed their lives serving in Bomber Command during the Second World War. More than 300 veterans from across the globe attended to cut the ribbon. Almost 4,000 guests saw flypasts from the Chinook helicopter, Voyager, Typhoon, Lysander and, of course, the Lancaster. The formal ceremony was hosted by journalist John Sargent, and an evening concert tonight will be presented by Carol Vorderman. A women's group that works with black, Asian and ethnic minority women in Hull has been awarded £10,000. The money from the Big Lottery Fund will provide sewing and cooking activities and help women to build confidence, develop skills and reduce isolation. Sonia Jalal is the coordinator and she's delighted by the investment.
We are over the moon. We are so much excited because the funding is unbelievably helping us so much. We were expecting, we were not even sure that we will get all the £10,000, but we got the £10,000. It's so helping, and you can see the women are so happy, and you have seen some of the women who have so much chronic, issues, for example, epilepsy, depression. Some of them, they all have seen thyroid problems as well, but they are female genital mutilated women as well, and all of them some pregnant women. But they are so excited, when they come to the center. For the last 2 weeks, there were Easter holidays, so we closed the center because it's so hard for the child worker to control all the children. So we said we will just take 2 weeks off. And I was receiving so many calls from women. They say, can you open the center? Can we come for our class? Can you open future. So it was so hard for us. So we know we are doing, a very good job, and it giving us so much mental peace of mind and excitement as well. But at the same time, worried as well that once the project finish, what will happen? So the trustees, they are applying, the committee members, they are applying for other funding as well. We hope will sustain the project. They are from 21 different countries. So Nigeria, Congolese, Sudan, Somalia, Ethiopia, Eritrea, Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, Romania, Lithuania, Poland, and Moldova. So you have seen the cushions, it's so nice. They made some ribbons as well, some hair bands, and they were just like working with the tutor, and they have made some handbags, cushions, some dresses as well, simple dressing like children dresses, tops as well. At the moment, we are hoping we'll get some more, help from big lottery funding to just sustain the project.
Now, earlier today, I caught up with the Irish superstar singer Daniel O'Donnell ahead of his UK tour. Daniel, welcome. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you, Hugh.
And welcome to England.
Nice to be here. Nice to see you.
You have a very ambitious tour coming up this spring and early summer, and you're going to be moving through our part of the world.
Yes, we're going to be in Bridlington in May, and in Doncaster at the end of April, in the Dome and the Spa, respectively, and looking forward to it. And then later on the year we're going to be in Hull, at the City Hall in October. But the tickets for Hull is not on sale yet, the others are.
You've got a big following in this country. You're terribly popular. These things are going to be sold out, aren't they?
Well, hopefully we'll get a good crowd. We always get a good crowd, when we come around, and the audience are always very receptive. So it's it's a joy to do what I do. I've been very fortunate.
Now, there are some who won't be familiar with you, but you've been singing since the early 1980s.
That's right.
You have an incredible back record of albums and singles. I think you're the only person who's had annual hits in this country and in the Republic of Ireland every year for 20 or 30, whatever it is.
Yes. Since 1988, we've had an album in the charts here at some point every year. So that's down to the fans, really, who go out and buy the albums when we release them.
Country music.
Country music. Well, it's a mixture, really. It's country, it's some Irish ballads, a wee bit of rock and roll, some inspirational. It's a kind of a strange mix when you mention it all, but it seems to work.
Okay.
Yeah.
That you say it's the fans who keep you selling so successfully. But you really put in the effort to have that relationship with the fans. They absolutely adore you, but you take a step further than most people will. You don't just stand out there and sing to them. You create a complete ambience with them.
Well, I enjoy meeting people. Whatever I might have done in life, to interact with people would have been very important. And over the years, I meet people after every show, so I have had the opportunity to get to know people, at different levels. Some better than others, but when I walk out on the stage and I accustom myself to the lights, I see the rows in the front, and most times I will recognise quite a few faces, which is lovely, because you're not out among strangers, you're out among friends.
And this is the beauty, I suppose, of actually playing the gigs, playing the concerts, that you're not doing this remotely through broadcasting or through selling records. You're actually in the room with the people who adore your work.
Absolutely. I suppose the live experience for me is the most important. I mean, I do recording and TV and everything, but live singing is what I enjoy most.
Now, you are gently teased, perhaps more in the Irish media than you are over here, about the fact that your audience tends to be of a certain demographic.
Yes, sometimes. But you know what? The strange thing about it is, as I'm getting older, the people are getting younger. Is that a terrible admission?
I think that may be a sense of perception going on there. Okay, well, just a slightly different subject. There's been speculation in the Irish media that you might be interested in running for the Irish presidency.
Oh, very quick answer, no.
No?
No, that would be, I think, above my brief altogether.
Well, it's not. It's non-executive. It's a sort of ceremonial presidency.
I know, but I still think
the president
should be somebody who has had some background in politics, and I have none.
Just a final point is that you've been very active in looking after Romanians. Would you just tell us a little bit more about that?
Well, back in a number of years ago now, I got involved with a charity called the Romanian Challenge Appeal, who at that time were working with an orphanage in Siret in the northeastern part of Romania. And again, you know, I went out there, made a record for the money to go to the charity, and I went out and visited the area and then realised that they needed a huge amount of help, and I started talking about it, and again, the people who support my shows, they raised the money, they gave money, and they had functions and coffee mornings, and it made a huge difference to a lot of children and young people. I mean, still there's lots to be done in lots of parts of the world, Romania being one of them, but a lot of people are better off because of what was done. So well, I'm grateful for the opportunity.
Well done, Daniel. Just a reminder, Doncaster and Bridlington this spring, Hull in October.
That's right, yeah.
Daniel, thank you so much.
Thank you, Hugh. Pleasure.
Humber Teaching NHS Foundation Trust has spent more than £650,000 improving adult mental health care in Hull and the East Riding. The money was awarded by NHS England and Hull and East Riding Clinical Commissioning Group to provide 5 new beds at an inpatient unit in Cottingham and the continuation of the Crisis Pad, a sanctuary for people suffering severe emotional distress. Other services have also benefited from the cash. That's all we have time for until the second half. Join me again after the break when I'll be talking to Luke. Welcome back. You're watching Estuary News. Still to come tonight, Jack brings us a roundup of all the latest sporting action, and our very own Luke joins me on the sofa for a roundup of the local arts scene. A charity football match has raised £2,000 towards pioneering treatment for a terminally ill firefighter in Lincolnshire. Stefan Horcroft has been fighting a brain tumour for the last 4 years. The match included fire crews from Lincolnshire and Derbyshire, where firefighters under the age of 30 took on their older colleagues. The final score was a 3-3 draw. Mr. Horcroft's family started a campaign to raise funds for treatment, which could cost up to £250,000. After his condition recently deteriorated. So far, they've raised £93,000. Normanby Hall Country Park near Scunthorpe is to benefit from 2 new play areas. The £225,000 investment by North Lincolnshire Council will see the existing play area transformed into activity zones and a second sensory play area created. Toddlers will be able to enjoy the Forest Lake boat, take a ride on the Fairy Tale Swan Springer and operate the sand digger and work in the sandpit. Work starts at the end of the month and will be completed in May. A new type of seafood product has been launched in Grimsby. Chipolata is fashioned from sustainable fish and sold in the form of seafood sausages and burgers. It was launched today at the reopening of Seafood Cottage after 3 years of being closed. The shop is now running as a social enterprise. Mara Greaves-Mooney, co-manager of Seafood Cottage and inventor of the Chipolata, says the seafood is designed to be enjoyed by all.
Chipolata is the actual product that I've designed, and it was done in conjunction with the Humber Seafood Institute a few years ago when I spent some time in their development facility, and since then I've been working on the formula, on the recipe, and doing lots and lots of different samples and varieties until we've arrived at the one that we have today. I wanted something that was going to be high in fish content rather than say 40, 50 or even 60. I wanted 80% fish fillet in the products. And then the remaining 20%, I wanted it to be my own blend of herbs and spices and other whole food ingredients to produce a really good, nourishing product. The varieties that I've settled with are tomato, garlic and chilli, and I do them in 6-ounce burgers but also in sausages as well. Anyone who enjoys fish, and also people who perhaps don't eat meat, it's a good alternative, yes.
Now, I'm joined by our very own Luke with the latest news from the local art scene. Luke, welcome into the studio.
Thank you, Hugh. Good evening. Happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday. As ever, good to see you. What have you got for us?
Lyrical starts this evening at 6 o'clock, so imminently, in Hull.
Yep.
And Susie Quattro is the first act who's going to be part of this 3-day festival at the Central Library, which is going to be compared by Russ Litton.
Very well.
Who's been on the Estuary News for a couple of times.
Lyrical spelled Lyricull, this being a pun on the name of the city.
Absolutely.
And yes, Susie Quattro, we all remember her.
American
Fantastic.
rock singer, and she had a couple of #1 hits, Can the Can in 1973 and Devilgate Drive the following year.
She was a bit of a wild child, wasn't
Yes, she was. She was indeed.
So she's on tonight. This is at Hull Central Library.
That's correct, yeah.
Also on tonight, Chris Difford.
Oh yes, at Half Past 8. So he's a member of the band Squeeze, which was formed in London, and you may remember here they had that brilliant track called "Cool for Cats."
They had a lot
back
of
in the 70s.
A lot of, well, I think it's probably the 80s, but a lot of brilliant tracks that I absolutely loved them. That was absolutely brilliant. Squeeze. Jules Holland was with them for a while.
Okay.
Up the Junction was another of their great ones.
That's right. That's right.
And tomorrow we've got
Saturday, Hugh. Glenn Matlock.
Yes.
He was the bass guitarist in the original lineup of the Sex Pistols.
That would be what, late 70s?
I think so. Yeah.
Which must pretty much be his age now, I'd imagine.
Possibly.
Okay.
And it says here in the notes he's still continuing to make records and touring with various bands, including the Sex Pistols. So they obviously are still continuing with some other guys, perhaps.
Okay, and there'll be a bit of an album launch as well. My People Come From the Sea from Steve Kobe.
That's right, and he's also been a guest on.
So that's tonight, tomorrow night, and Saturday night at Hull Central Library.
That's right.
Don't think of that as a music venue.
No, I'm not sure whereabouts in the library it is. They're going to be performing, but it's also going to be these artists in conversation with us, talking about their career and their music.
Hairspray, something I believe that you use more of than I do.
I do quite a lot of it, Hugh, absolutely. It's returning to Hull, returning to the new theatre. Next week, couple of weeks, 23rd to the 28th of April. I went to see it a few years ago when it was at the old Hull New Theatre. Brilliant musical.
Okay, and this is a musical of the film that was released in 2007, Zac Efron and John Travolta.
Yes,
John Travolta playing the heroine's mother.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. So it was originally a Broadway hit in 2002, and then it was released as a film in 2007.
We move on back to the 1980s here. Jason Donovan.
Oh, yeah, the great Jason Donovan. He's coming to our part of the region at Bridlington Spa on Thursday, the 26th of April, so 2 weeks today. He's about to turn 50. I can't believe it.
He's calling it his amazing midlife crisis tour.
Yes.
A reference, I think, to the amazing Technicolor Raincoat,
That's
because he
right.
was, of course, we remember him from Neighbours.
Yeah, with Scott Ramsey playing alongside Kylie Minogue.
Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, and I think he's been on the stage in London in the West End in Rocky Horror
That's
and,
right.
of course, Joseph.
Yeah.
So he'll be talking as well as doing a bit of performing.
Yes, and there'll be a Q&A session for people who want to ask him questions in part 2 of the performance.
The 80s and the 70s seem a long way away. The 1950s seem even more historical, but that's when the Drifters started in 1953.
Yeah, 65 years ago.
And they are going to be at the New Theatre Royal Lincoln on Saturday the 5th of May. And I don't think any of the original lineup will be present.
No,
But
probably not.
it will
Probably
be
not.
a lot of the great songs that the Drifters... I mean, they're still great. There's 1950s rock and roll songs, aren't they?
I've got
Come
one
On
of
Over My Place,
Yeah.
Up on the Roof.
Yeah, great. You're more than a number in my little red book, Hugh.
And very
Great
quickly,
songs.
there's one other I thought we would just quickly touch on, which is, this is a bit in the future, but Boy George is coming to the Hull
That's
venue.
right, yes, the new Hull venue. Tickets for that go on sale tomorrow.
He won't be there till the 20th of November, but Do You Really Want to Hear Me? And Karma Chameleon. Oh,
Great
it makes me
tracks.
feel young again.
Great
just to hear
tracks.
them. Luke, thanks very much
Thank
for
you very
coming
much.
in. Here's Jack with all the sports.
Scunthorpe United are gearing up for a massive game this weekend as they travel to playoff chasing rivals Charlton Athletic. The Irons sit just 1 point behind Saturday's opponents, who currently occupy the final playoff place in League One. United would move above the Addicts with a win, while a defeat would see them lose ground on one of their promotion rivals. Interim manager Nick Dawes said he isn't underestimating Saturday's game at the Valley.
It's a big game, but it had been a big game. Whoever it is, it was a big game last week against Millwall. It'll be a big game next week against Walsall. So we talk about these proverbial 6 pointers. So in that sense, it is a big game because if we can get the win, then it puts us above them. they've got a challenging running just in terms of the teams they play. So they've got a lot of 6-pointers to play. So every win that they get against a team that's in and around us is probably a double bonus for them. But ultimately, we're trying to get 15 points. If we get 15 points, we'll be fine. If we get less than that, we could still be in the playoffs. But what I know is if we get a positive result at Charlton, then we've got 3 home games out of our last 4 here. And if we can get this bit right, the momentum of that, then we can really get on a roll.
Meanwhile, in League Two, 2 of Grimsby Town's key players could be in line for a return this weekend. The Mariners take on relegation rivals Barnet at Blundell Park on Saturday, and they could be boosted with players returning from injury. Ben Davies could be set to make the squad after manager Michael Jolly confirmed the fullback has trained most of the week. Also, striker Simeon Jackson may also feature. He's been out of action since February the 17th, but Jolly said he has a chance for Saturday. The Mariners sit 21st in League Two and are 5 points clear of Barnet, who occupy the final relegation spot. Town will be looking to follow up on last weekend's 1-0 win against bottom side Chesterfield to ease the threat of dropping into non-league. And finally, in Rugby League, Hull FC travel to Widnes Vikings tonight, hoping to bounce back from last week's defeat to St Helens. Lee Radford's side lost 26-12 at Saints last time out to end a good run of 3 straight Super League wins. Verita Faremo returns after serving a 1-match suspension, while the informed Fetuli Talanoa is expected to feature this evening. Kick-off at the Security Select Stadium is at 7:45, and I'll bring you all the details tomorrow. That's all for today's sport. Back to Hugh in the studio.
Thank you very much, Jack. That's all from us for tonight. Very good to see Daniel O'Donnell on the programme today. If you'd like to get in touch, Facebook or Twitter are available. Email news@estuary.tv or phone Grimsby 01472 31553. Or you can write to us at Estuary TV, Nuns Corner, Laceby Road, Grimsby, North East Lincolnshire, DN34 5BQ. Until tomorrow, from all of us here, good evening.